L.B. Jeffries, alias James Stewart, recuperating from a broken leg that has him in a cast up to his waist, is confined to a wheelchair in his small Greenwich Village apartment. He passes time by spying on his neighbors through his apartment's rear window. The neighbors include a dancer who exercises in her underwear, a lonely woman who lives by herself, a songwriter working at his piano, and several married couples, including a salesman with a bedridden wife. Every day, Jeffries is visited by Stella, a home care nurse, and Lisa Fremont, alias Grace Kelly, his girlfriend. He talks to both of them about his neighbors. And after one of his neighbors, the salesman, makes repeated late-night trips carrying a large case, Jeffries concentrates his attention on him and notices that the bedridden wife is now gone. Jeffries pulls out his binoculars and then a camera with a large telephoto lens to get a better look. He sees the salesman clean a large knife and handsaw. Later, the salesman ties a large packing crate with heavy rope and seemingly moves away. By now, Jeffrey, Stella and Lisa have concluded the missing wife has been murdered by the salesman. They check his name on the front of the building, Lars Thorwald. Jeffries calls in an old army buddy named Doyle, who is now a detective, and explains the situation to him. After checking, the detective finds that Mrs. Thorwald is in the country, has sent a postcard to her husband, and the packing crate they had sent was full of her clothes. Chastised, they all admit to feeling a little ghoulish, even disappointed to find out there was not a murder after all. Jeffries and Lisa settle down for an evening alone, but a scream soon pierces the courtyard. One of the neighbors had a little dog they would let roam around the yard, and now it is dead. All of the neighbors rush to the windows to see what has happened, except for one. Jeffries notices that Thorwald sits unmoving in his dark apartment, with only the tip of his cigarette glowing. Convinced that Thorwald is guilty after all, they slip a letter under his door asking "What have you done with her?" to watch his reaction. Calling his apartment, Jeffries tells Thorwald to meet him at the bar down the street as a pretext to getting him out of the apartment. He thinks Thorwald killed the little dog to keep it from digging up something buried in the courtyard flower patch. When Thorwald leaves, Lisa and Stella grab a shovel and start digging, but after a few minutes they find nothing. Refusing to give up, Lisa climbs the fire escape to Thorwald's apartment and squeezes in an open window, against Jeffrey's idea. Rummaging around the apartment, Lisa finds Mrs. Thorwald's purse and wedding ring, things she would have never left behind on a trip. She holds them up for Jeffries to see, but he can only watch in fear as Thorwald comes back up the stairs to the apartment. Lisa is trapped inside the flat. Calling the police as Thorwald goes in, Jeffries and Stella watch helplessly as Lisa tries to hide, but is found by Thorwald moments later. They see her try to talk her way out, but Thorwald grabs her and begins to assault her. Terrified by their helplessness, they watch as he turns out the lights and listen as Lisa screams for help. The police arrive and beat on Thorwald's door, saving Lisa just in time. With the police present, Jeffries sees Lisa's hands behind her back, pointing to Mrs. Thorwald's ring, which is now on her finger. Thorwald sees this as well, realizing that she is signaling to someone across the courtyard, and turns to look directly at Jeffries. Pulling back into the dark, Jeffries calls Doyle, who is now convinced that Thorwald is guilty of something. Stella takes cash for bail to get Lisa out of jail and heads for the police station, leaving Jeffries alone. He sees that Thorwald's apartment lights are off. Jeffries hears the door to his own building slam shut, then slow footsteps begin climbing the stairs. Looking for a method of defense, Jeffries can find only the flash for his camera. He grabs a box of flashbulbs. Footsteps stop outside his door, then it slowly opens. Thorwald stands in the dark. "Who are you?" he asks.
"What do you want from me?"
Jeffries does not answer, but as Thorwald comes for him, he sets off the flash, blinding Thorwald for a few seconds. Thorwald fumbles his way to Jeffries' wheelchair, grabs him and pushes him towards the open window. Hanging onto the ledge, yelling for help, Jeffries sees Lisa, the detective and the police all rush in. Thorwald is pulled back, but it is too late. Jeffries slips and falls just as the police run up beneath him. Luckily, they break his fall, and Lisa sweeps him up in her arms. Thorwald confesses to the murder of his wife, and the police take him away. A few days later, Jeffrey sleeps peacefully in his wheelchair, now with 2 broken legs from the fall. Lisa reclines happily beside him, reading an adventurous book about the Himalaya. Oh wait, after seeing Jeffries is asleep, she changes for a women's magazine.